The Jarkral were everywhere, legendary, invincible, and worshipped by countless systems across the galaxy. To the lesser species under their shadow, they were not just conquerors. They were gods, massive warships that glittered like stars. Themselves, technology so advanced it seemed like magic, and an unyielding arrogance that brooked no challenge. In the vast reaches of the Andara sector, the Jarkral flagship Immortal's Wrath presided over a council of their most feared commanders. Draped in ceremonial armor and speaking with cold finality, the High Lords plotted the expansion of their empire. "The humans have sent a lone vessel into our domain," intoned High Lord Threx. His many eyes glinted with disdain. A single warship named Resolute. A pathetic challenge to our will. Others chuckled, voices echoing in the high chamber. What can mere mortals hope to achieve? They will be crushed without ceremony. Yet, among the assembled was a younger commander, one less convinced. "I have observed this human ship's movements," he said quietly. "Their tactics are unorthodox. They refuse to submit or retreat. Their resolve is unusual." Threx sneered. "Resolve is meaningless. We are gods. Mortals bow or die." Meanwhile, aboard the USS Resolute, Captain Anna Wells reviewed the ship's status alongside her officers. The humans were far from home, surrounded by systems under Jarkral control, but their mission was clear: to prove that no power, however mighty, was beyond challenge. "Enemy fleet in sensor range," reported Lieutenant Chen. "Several. Destroyers and a frigate on intercept course," Anna nodded. "Prepare defensive protocols. No surprise attack will break us." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Though outmatched in sheer firepower, the Resolute relied on speed, electronic, warfare, and the adaptability of its people. Anna addressed her crew over the ship's intercom, voice steady and resolute. "Remember why we're here. We stand not just for humanity, but for every world enslaved by false gods. Today we remind them, even the mightiest are mortal." The first encounter was swift and brutal. Jarkral destroyers opened fire with energy beams that could vaporize smaller ships. The Resolute executed evasive maneuvers, using the dense asteroid field nearby as cover. Electronic countermeasures scrambled enemy targeting systems. When the Jarkral ships pressed too close, the Resolute launched a volley of plasma torpedoes, scoring several hits. The element of surprise and relentless determination threw the attackers off balance. Back on the Immortal's Wrath, the High Lords watched in disbelief as reports came in of damage sustained by their fleet. "How dare they?" roared High Lord Threx. "This insolence will be punished." But even as they planned their next strike, the humans vanished into the asteroid belt, refusing to be caught. In the following days, the Resolute sent out transmissions to nearby systems, urging oppressed species to resist, to hope, to rise. "Today the gods bled," Captain Wells declared in her broadcast. "They are not invincible. Their reign is not eternal." In darkened rooms and shadowed alleys on countless worlds, eyes lit with newfound courage. Rumors spread of a single human ship that fought like a storm and survived. Of a people who refused to kneel. The Jarkral propaganda machine worked overtime, trying to discredit the humans as reckless fools, but the damage was done. The myth of their invulnerability was cracked. In the bridge of the Resolute, Anna allowed herself a brief smile. "We may be small," she said to her second-in-command, "but we carry the fire of defiance. That is something no technology can destroy." Outside the viewport, the cold void of space stretched endlessly, but within the crew's hearts burned a fierce light, a beacon of hope, a challenge to the gods themselves. The Jarkral High Command convened in the colossal war chamber aboard the Immortal's Wrath, a ship as vast as a city and gleaming with ominous energy. Holograms flickered in the dim light, displaying the lone human warship, the Resolute, darting through their territory like a persistent shadow. High Lord Threx paced before the council, his many limbs gesturing sharply. These humans mock us with their defiance. A single vessel challenging the might of our empire. The other lords murmured, some with derision, others with cautious interest. Commander Sithra, the younger officer who had earlier questioned their invincibility, stepped forward. Their tactics are unlike anything we have faced. They are fast, unpredictable, and stubborn. They do not fear death, Threx scoffed. Fear is irrelevant when you wield power beyond comprehension. We are gods. They are insects. The council voted unanimously to send a small strike force to intimidate the humans, confident that overwhelming firepower would crush their spirit quickly. Meanwhile, on the Resolute, the crew was alert but calm. Captain Anna Wells studied the incoming data on her tactical display. 3 Jarkral frigates were approaching fast. Lieutenant Chen analyzed their formations. They are attempting a classic pincer maneuver. If we hold here, we risk being trapped. Anna's gaze hardened. We won't hold. We will break through. With practiced precision, the Resolute powered up its engines and leapt into motion. The battle began with a sudden burst of energy fire. The Jarkral ships unleashed their plasma cannons, trying to overwhelm the human vessel's shields. But the Resolute twisted and weaved through the void like a dancer. Its electronic warfare systems emitted bursts that scrambled enemy sensors, turning the attacking ship's targeting arrays into chaos. Using the asteroid field as cover, the humans executed hit-and-run strikes, forcing the Jarkral ships to spread out. On board the Resolute, Engineer Ramirez monitored the reactor's output. We're pushing the engines to their limits, Captain. We can't keep this up forever. Anna nodded. Then we make it count. In a daring move, the Resolute launched a squadron of drone fighters. The tiny craft swarmed the Jarkral frigates, distracting their gunners and creating openings. Seizing the opportunity, the Resolute fired concentrated plasma bursts at the lead enemy ship, crippling its shields. Back on the Immortal's wrath, reports flooded in. The High Lords were stunned to learn that the small human ship had damaged their warships and evaded capture. How is this possible? Threx demanded. Commander Sithra's voice was measured. Their technology is less advanced, but their tactics, their willingness to adapt and take risks, that is their strength. They do not rely solely on power. They fight with cunning. Threx slammed a fist into a console. They must be crushed. No challenge to our godhood can go unanswered. As the skirmish continued, the Resolute's crew showed their resilience. Medical Officer Lee tended to minor injuries calmly, her voice steady, over the intercom. Stay sharp, everyone. We faced worse and come out stronger. In the command center, Tactical Officer Dax coordinated electronic countermeasures. I'm jamming their communications. They're losing coordination. Anna smiled grimly. Good. Keep them confused. The Jarkral eventually withdrew after sustaining unexpected losses. Their arrogance wounded, they retreated to reconsider their approach. But the humans did not pursue. Instead, Anna transmitted a bold message across the sector. People of High, the Andara sector. We come not to conquer, but to remind you that even gods bleed. Rise. Resist. You are not alone. Across the occupied systems, the message echoed in secret gatherings and hidden outposts. Whispers of rebellion stirred. The legend of the Resolute grew, lighting sparks of hope in the hearts of the oppressed. In the quiet moments after battle, Anna looked out at the stars. They expect us to be afraid, to flee, she said softly. But we're not just fighting. For survival. We're fighting to change the story, Lieutenant Chen nodded. One ship can't change a galaxy, can it? Anna's eyes gleamed. One ship has to be enough. The silence of deep space shattered as the distant silhouette of the Jarkral, dreadnought celestial fury, emerged from the shadows of a gas giant. It was a colossal warship, a floating fortress armed with weapons so powerful they could annihilate entire moons with a single volley. Its presence alone sent a shiver through the Resolute's crew. Captain Anna Wells stood on the bridge, her jaw tight. They're sending their heavy hitter. This is no longer a warning. It's an execution order. Lieutenant Chen's fingers danced across the console. Our sensors show shields at full strength and weapon systems ready. The Celestial Fury is designed to obliterate targets like us. The Resolute's hull was smaller, its weaponry more modest. But humans had a different weapon, ingenuity, and the unbreakable will to survive. As the two ships closed in, space itself seemed to tremble beneath the weight of their confrontation. The Celestial Fury opened with a barrage of plasma beams, each shot capable of carving through the thickest armor. The Resolute danced between the blasts, engines pushed beyond limits, weaving through the deadly light. "Evasive maneuvers! Full power to engines!" Captain Wells commanded. "Keep us alive!" Electronic Warfare Officer Dax activated the ship's advanced jamming systems, sending a complex cascade of interference toward the dreadnought's targeting arrays. Despite the Celestial Fury's might, the human crew refused to yield. They launched swarms of autonomous drones, each programmed for rapid assault and disruption. The drones swarmed around the dreadnought's hull, darting in and out, targeting exposed weapon ports and sensor arrays. The Celestial Fury's gunners struggled to track the nimble attackers amid the electronic chaos. Inside the Resolute, tension crackled through the corridors. Engineer Ramirez worked feverishly, rerouting power to damaged systems and keeping the ship's shields barely holding. "We're losing reactor efficiency," Ramirez reported. "If this continues, we risk a complete systems failure." Anna's voice was calm but firm. "Do whatever it takes. We're not done yet." With a daring plan, Anna ordered a risky maneuver. "Prepare the plasma torpedoes. We're going to hit them where it hurts." The Resolute sped toward the dreadnought's blind spot, a shadowed region beneath its main hull. The Celestial Fury's sensors momentarily lost track as the smaller ship closed in rapidly. At the last moment, the Resolute launched its torpedoes, which streaked like fiery comets into the dreadnought's vulnerable engine compartments. Explosions rocked the Celestial Fury, causing it to shudder violently. Alarms blared across the Jarkral flagship. Back on the bridge of the Celestial Fury, High Commander Vrex's many eyes narrowed in fury. "Destroy that human pest!" he barked. But the Resolute had already begun a swift retreat, using the dreadnought's momentary disarray to slip away. The battle had been fierce and costly. The Resolute's hull bore scorches and breaches, systems flickered unpredictably, but it remained operational. The Celestial Fury limped away, damaged and humiliated. As the human warship limped toward a nearby friendly outpost for repairs, news of the encounter spread across the galaxy. The legend of the humans had grown from whispers into roaring tales. Even the Jarkral, those who claimed godhood, had been shown to bleed. In the quiet of the Resolute's mess hall, Captain Wells gathered her crew. "You fought with courage and skill," she said, pride shining in her voice. "Today we proved that even the mightiest can fall." Lieutenant Chen raised a glass. "To humanity." The crew echoed the toast, their spirits high despite the scars of battle. Far away on the Immortal's wrath, High Lord Threx's expression was grim. "They are no mere mortals," he admitted to his council. "Their spirit is a weapon we did not expect." Commander Sithra nodded. "It is time we reconsider how we view this threat." The Jarkral gods were shaken, but far from defeated, and the Resolute sailed on, a beacon of hope for the oppressed, a symbol that even gods have weaknesses. The once unshakable aura of the Jarkral Empire began to crack. Rumors of a single human warship holding its own against their might spread like wildfire through their territories, undermining decades of cultivated fear and unquestioned reverence. To the countless species that had bowed to the Jarkral, the revelation was both terrifying and exhilarating. On the mining world of Galthor Prime, A laborer named Kira wiped sweat from her brow as she listened to a smuggled transmission from the Resolute. The message was clear. Even gods could fall, and resistance was possible. Across the star systems, secret meetings were held in shadowed corners, voices low but hearts burning with hope. The galaxy's oppressed began to dare to dream of freedom. Aboard the Immortal's Wrath, the once majestic flagship now showed signs of unrest. High Lord Threx paced in his chamber, his multi-limbed silhouette casting long shadows against the glowing star charts. "They spread lies," Threx hissed to the assembled council. "This human is a pest, an annoyance easily crushed. But the damage to our reputation is real. Our people grow restless." Commander Sithra stepped forward, her tone measured. "The myth of our godhood relies on fear and infallibility. If that cracks, so does our power." Threx slammed a fist into the armrest. "Then we will reinforce it, show them what happens to those who challenge gods." Meanwhile, the Resolute docked at the starbase of allied species near the outer rim. Engineers and medics worked tirelessly to repair the warship's battered hull and systems. Yet, amid the repairs, the crew remained vigilant. Captain Wells gathered, her officers in the strategy room. "The galaxy is watching. Our actions will inspire or condemn entire worlds. We must be precise." Lieutenant Chen nodded. "The Jarkral will come back stronger. We need to anticipate their next move." Science Officer Malik added, "Our enemies are adapting. They study us closely. We must evolve faster." Outside the base, crowds gathered around communication. Arrays, listening eagerly to transmissions from the Resolute. Among the crowd was Jara, a former soldier from a recently liberated planet. "They think we're weak," she whispered. "But we're not. Humans showed us the truth. It's our turn now." Inspired by the human example, underground resistance cells intensified their activities, sabotaging Jarkral operations and smuggling vital resources to rebel forces. Back, on the Immortal's Wrath, Threx convened an emergency war council. "We will unveil our ultimate weapon," he declared. "The Emissary, a ship built to enforce our will and crush rebellion in one strike." The Emissary was a massive warship, the pinnacle of Jarkral engineering. Its energy weapons could devastate entire cities, its shields nearly impenetrable. The news of the Emissary spread like a shadow across the stars. The Resolute's crew watched as the Jarkral prepared for a decisive blow to crush humanity's defiance. But Captain Wells was undeterred. "They believe their power is absolute. They've forgotten one thing: humanity never gives up." The stage was set for a confrontation that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The myth of the Jarkral gods was unraveling, and at its center stood one human warship daring to prove that even gods could fall. The void around the Andara sector grew heavy with anticipation. News of the emissary's arrival spread rapidly among both allies and enemies. The colossal Jarkral warship was a symbol of terror, a floating fortress that promised to snuff out the spark of rebellion with a single devastating strike. Captain Anna Wells stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching the stars streak by as they approached the contested space. The crew was tense but ready. "Emissary's trajectory confirmed," Lieutenant Chen reported. "They're heading straight for the Resistance stronghold at Saren Prime." Anna's jaw tightened. If they destroy Saren Prime, it will crush morale across the sector. Science Officer Malik analyzed sensor data. "Their weapon systems are unlike anything we've seen. The main energy cannon can vaporize an entire city block in seconds. The enormity of the threat pressed down on them all. Yet the Resolute was humanity's answer to despair, a small ship with a big heart." As the emissary emerged from hyperspace, its immense silhouette cast a shadow over Saren Prime's orbit. The planet's surface was dotted with sprawling cities, rebel bases, and refugee camps. High Lord Threx, aboard the emissary, issued the final order. "Crush them swiftly. Let no defiance remain." The first energy blast tore through the upper atmosphere, igniting fires across the surface. Panic spread below as alarms blared and emergency protocols activated. The Resolute sprang into action. Anna directed her crew to draw the emissary's attention away from the planet. Prepare all weapons. Electronic countermeasures active. We'll give the resistance a chance. The emissary turned to face the smaller ship, unleashing a barrage of plasma beams. The Resolute's shields flared under the assault. Hold steady, Anna commanded. We have one shot to disable their weapon systems. In a daring maneuver, the Resolute sped toward the colossal warship's vulnerable ventral arrays, where cooling conduits and energy relays were exposed. Lieutenant Chen guided the ship with precision, weaving through stormy energy blasts. The Jarkral gunners scrambled to adjust, firing wildly as the human ship closed in. Suddenly, the Resolute unleashed a barrage of plasma torpedoes aimed at the emissary's main weapon array. Explosions rippled across the warship's hull, causing massive system failures. The emissary staggered, its massive energy cannon flickering and shutting down. High Lord Threx's rage was palpable. Destroy them! Fire everything! But the Resolute had already pulled back, using the chaos to retreat towards Saren Prime's atmosphere. On the planet below, rebel forces seized the moment, rallying to push back Jarkral troops. Jara, the soldier inspired by the humans, led a strike team against an enemy supply depot. We fight for every life lost, she declared. Today, we stand as one. Back on the Resolute, the crew worked swiftly to repair damage and prepare for what might come next. Captain Wells addressed her team. This victory is ours, but the war isn't over. They'll come back, stronger and angrier. Lieutenant Chen nodded. They underestimated us. Now, they know humanity won't back down. The battle at Saren Prime was a turning point. The myth of the Jarkral's godhood was shattered, replaced by the undeniable truth. Even gods could bleed, and humans could fight. The embers of the battle at Saren Prime still glowed as the Resolute limped toward the nearest repair station. But victory was only the beginning. The galaxy was waking, and with it, a swelling tide of rebellion that threatened to engulf the Jarkral Empire from within. Captain Anna Wells sat in the strategy room, poring over reports from the outer sectors. Communications from underground resistance cells had multiplied exponentially. Entire worlds once resigned to submission now whispered of revolution. We've ignited something bigger than ourselves, Anna said quietly. The Jarkral's grip is loosening. Lieutenant Chen looked up from his console, eyes sharp. They're responding with brutal crackdowns, but the people are no longer afraid. The humans gave them hope. Across the Empire, the Jarkral struggled to maintain control. On many worlds, secret meetings turned into open defiance. Smugglers and freedom fighters transported weapons and supplies under the noses of Imperial patrols. In the dark alleys of Verdinus, a merchant named Laura coordinated shipments of rare minerals vital for resistance technology. The humans showed us that even the mightiest can fall, she told her contacts. It's time to rise. High Lord Threx seethed with frustration aboard the Immortal's wrath. His plans for swift domination were unraveling. Send the Praetorian fleets, he commanded. Crush the rebellions with overwhelming force. Commander Sithra cautioned. Heavy-handed tactics will only strengthen their resolve. We must be strategic. Threx snarled. I will not be mocked by insects who dare challenge gods. Meanwhile, on the Resolute, Captain Wells received a covert transmission. A message from a previously unknown ally, a coalition of species long oppressed by the Jarkral, offering support. We're not alone, Anna said, determination in her voice. Our fight is theirs as well. The Alliance promised fleets, intelligence, and resources. With this newfound strength, the Resistance was ready to strike deeper into Imperial territory. The Resolute became a symbol of defiance, traveling between rebel worlds to coordinate attacks and inspire hope. Its crew worked tirelessly to upgrade. Their ship, incorporating alien technology and adapting to new threats. Engineer Ramirez developed enhanced shield matrices, while Science Officer Malik integrated alien sensor arrays, making the Resolute faster and deadlier. On a remote moon, Jara trained new recruits, her eyes fierce. The Jarkrell underestimated the human spirit. They don't understand what it means to fight for freedom. Her words ignited a fire in the young rebels, readying them for the battles to come. The Jarkrell Empire faced a growing crisis. Their divine image was shattered, and the galaxy's oppressed had found a rallying point in humanity. Yet the final battle had not come. The Resolute's crew knew the war was far from over, but the balance of power had begun to shift. The galaxy's pulse quickened as the rebellion gathered momentum. Once fragmented, the various resistance cells began to unite under a single banner, humanity's symbol of resilience and defiance. Captain Anna Wells stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching the vast fleet of Allied ships assemble in the void near the planet Velkara. The combined force was the largest the galaxy had seen in decades. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of species, all united to challenge the Jarkrell Empire. "This is our moment," Anna said, voice steady but filled with purpose. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for freedom." Lieutenant Chen smiled grimly. "They'll regret the day they called themselves gods." The Immortal's wrath arrived in the system, its presence looming like a dark storm. High Lord Threx stood on his command deck, flanked by his most trusted commanders. "We will break their will," he declared, "and remind the galaxy why we are gods." The battle that followed was cataclysmic. The Allied fleet moved with precision, striking at Jarkrell supply lines and communication hubs. The Resolute led daring raids against heavily fortified positions, its crew risking everything to cripple the Empire's war machine. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Wells made a bold decision. "We target the Immortal's wrath directly," she announced. "If we take down their flagship, the Empire will falter." The plan was risky, engaging the largest and most powerful ship in a direct fight, but the element of surprise was on their side. As the Resolute darted through the battlefield, evading energy blasts and debris, the crew worked seamlessly. Engineer Ramirez patched breaches. Science Officer Malik guided targeting systems. Lieutenant Chen coordinated maneuvers. "Lock onto the main reactor," Anna commanded. "This ends now." The Immortal's wrath unleashed its full fury, its energy cannons lighting up space like a supernova. The Resolute shook under the assault, but pressed on, weaving through the storm of destruction. Captain Wells saw her chance. "Fire all plasma! Torpedoes!" The torpedoes streaked forward, striking the Immortal's Wrath's reactor core with devastating effect. An enormous explosion rocked the Jarkrell flagship. Systems failed, weapons went dark, and the ship began to drift, crippled. High Lord Threx's voice crackled over the comms, laced with disbelief. "Impossible! How could mortals—" The Immortal's Wrath's godhood was broken. Across the battlefield, cheers erupted from the Allied forces. The tide had turned. Rebel planets seized the moment to rise up, overwhelming Jarkrell garrisons. Back on the Resolute, Captain Wells addressed her crew. "We have shown the galaxy that no god is beyond reach, that courage and unity can topple, even the mightiest." Lieutenant Chen nodded. "This is just the beginning of a new era. The legend of the human warship, the small but relentless Resolute, became a beacon of hope and defiance. The Jarkrell Empire, once arrogant and invincible, was exposed as vulnerable and mortal. Humanity's spirit had proven stronger than godhood. Captain Anna Wells stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring out at the battered enemy flagship. The warship was a symbol of an empire broken, but the victory felt bittersweet. "Prepare to hail the Immortal's wrath," Anna ordered. "It's time to end this." The bridge fell silent as the comms officer sent the transmission. "High Lord," Threx's voice crackled through the speakers, tired but defiant. You have won the battle, human, but do not mistake this for the end. Anna's gaze was steady. The galaxy is tired of your reign. We offer peace, an end to your tyranny. There was a pause before Threx responded. We will see if you can hold it. In the following days, the Jarkral Empire faced internal upheaval. Without their divine image, fractures emerged among their leadership. Worlds once loyal began negotiating terms with the rebel coalition. The Resolute became a traveling embassy, carrying diplomats and emissaries to broker peace and unity. On Saren Prime, Jara stood with fellow rebels, watching the stars. Humanity showed us how to fight, she said softly. Now, we must build. Her words echoed across liberated worlds, sparking hope for a future shaped by freedom and cooperation. Back on Earth, messages of solidarity poured in from alien allies. Humanity's ascent was no longer a legend. It was a shared reality. Captain Wells reflected on the journey, from a single warship defending against impossible odds to becoming a symbol that reshaped the galaxy. We proved that strength isn't about godhood, she said. It's about heart. The galaxy was far from perfect, but a new dawn had broken. Arrogance had fallen, mortality was accepted, and humanity's spirit burned brighter than ever.